Yes guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be covering the essentials to building muscle. This is literally the only guide you're going to need this winter to ensure that you pack on muscle and pack on size so that when you cut down for next summer, you're going to look absolutely sick. So if you're looking to pack on a considerable amount of muscle this winter, then sit back, grab your notepad and relax and enjoy the video. Okay, so first things first, let's talk training split. Now, realistically speaking, if you're serious about building muscle, you need to ensure that you're training at least 3 times per week. So as long as you can commit to training at least 3 times per week, you're going to be able to ensure that you build a sufficient amount of muscle over the course of the winter period. If you can only commit to training 3 days per week, you want to opt for a full body training split. And what I mean by this is that you're going to train full body 3 times per week. So day 1, you might go upper push and lower pull. Day 2, you might go lower push and upper pull. And day 3, you might do a mixture of both depending on where you want to target more. Now let's move on to if you can commit to training 4 days per week. I've given you a few more different options with your 4-day split, okay? So you can opt for option number 1, which is push, pull, legs, rest, and then upper body. Option number 2, push, pull, legs, rest, then full body. Or option number 3, upper, lower, upper, lower. It really does depend on what areas of your body you want to work on the most. For example, if lads come to me and they're like, I want to build some size, I want to build some mass, I normally push them towards the push, pull, legs, rest, upper. You're probably thinking, Jono, is training legs once a week going to be sufficient enough to make sure I can, grow mass on my legs? And the answer to that question is yes, of course. As long as you're training with true intensity and taking each set till failure, training legs once a week, you will see growth and you will see progress, particularly if you're a little bit of a newbie. Now let's move on if you can commit to 5 days per week. Now this is how many days per week I train, and I've tried all different splits, and I think the optimal training split for if you can train 5 days per week has got to be the mixture of push, pull, legs and the Arnold split. So day 1 you'll do push, day 2 you'll do pull, day 3 you'll do legs, you'll then rest, and then you'll do push and pull together, and then you'll do shoulders and arms. And if you can commit to training 6 days a week, I'm very jealous of you because I'd love to be able to do that, then you're going to opt for a combination of the push, pull, leg split and the full Arnold split, okay? So essentially, you just be adding a day onto the 5-day split, okay, and training legs. So it's going to be push, pull, legs, rest, push and pull together, shoulders and arms, and then finishing off the week with a second leg day. Okay, so let's move on to the key principles of training that you need to consider when you're looking to build sufficient muscle mass. Now, apologies if you can't actually see this, I got carried away with mixing up the colors, but training principle number 1 is progressive overload. You need to make sure that you are progressively overloading your lifts every single session. Now, what does progressively overloading actually entail? In layman's terms, it actually refers to just making things tougher. So every single week you come to your training program, you want to try and make things tougher. And there's different ways in which we can do this. We can try and lift heavier, we can try and add more reps, we can slow it down, we can add a pause. The most common way and the simplest way to implement progressive overload is to increase the weight. And I'm going to go through with you now exactly how to progressively overload by increasing the weight. Let's take a barbell bench press for example. Let's say you hit 3 sets of 12 at 60 kilos. The next time you come to do your barbell bench press, I want you to try 62.5. Now on the first set, you might get 12 reps. The second set, you might get 10. And the third set, let's say you get 8. The following week, when you try and do your barbell bench press again on 62.5, I want you again to aim for 12, 12, 12. You might get 12, then 11, and then you might improve the last set to around 9. And you're going to keep chipping away at 62.5 until you can get 3 sets of 12. By that point, you've mastered that weight and you're ready to progressively overload it to the next weight. Let's move on to training principle number 2, time under tension. Now this refers to the amount of time that the muscle group that you are training is under tension during a repetition. And the greater the time under tension, the greater the rate of muscle growth. Let's take a barbell bench press as an example. As we lower that weight down toward the chest, that is known as the eccentric portion of the contraction. And that is when the muscle is under the most tension. So the eccentric portion of the contraction wants to be nice and slow so we can maximize time under tension. So again, using that barbell bench press, we're going to be here, we're going to control for 3, 2, 1, maximum time under tension, and then we're going to punch up on the concentric phase of the contraction. So eccentric, 2, 1, nice and slow, concentric as the muscle contracts. So just to recap time under tension, keep the reps slow, maximize the time that the muscle is under tension, and that will maximize your gains. And training principle number 3, ROM, or range of motion or range of movement, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, this refers to getting the correct range throughout each exercise. Now, I'm sure you've all seen Mr. Half Rep in the gym. Again, we'll use the bench press for an example, punching out his reps like this, okay? It's going to do nothing. It's going to really restrict your muscle growth if you're not getting sufficient ROM. So again, let's use that bench press. On the way down, we're coming all the way down to the chest, we're tapping the chest, and then we're driving back up. That way, we're stretching the pectoral as much as we can before driving back up. Let's take a bicep curl. I'm sure everyone's seen it when people will curl up, but they'll only come back down to here, then they'll curl up, then back down to there. Make sure you're fully lengthening the arm before we drive back up again, okay? The greater ROM, the greater rate of muscle growth. Training principle number 4, muscle-mind connection. Really important one. You actively need to think about the muscle that you are training and think about the contraction. Let's take a chest fly for an example. As you perform a chest fly and your hands come in, I want you to think about actually squeezing through the chest, actually feeling that contraction. Again, that's just going to take your gains to a new level. Again, with your bicep curl, as you come up, we're thinking about tensing the bicep, squeezing the bicep. That is what we refer to as muscle-mind connection, actually thinking about contracting through muscle to maximize the contraction and maximize your gains. And number 5, training intensity. I feel like this one gets neglected a lot. People think because they're progressively overloading, because they've got sufficient time under tension, because they've got great ROM, because they've got muscle-mind connection, they can kind of neglect training intensity. You need to make sure you're training with intensity. You need to make sure your last few reps are really fucking tough, okay? You need to make sure you're pushing with as much as you possibly can to get that 12th rep. If your 12th rep looks like that, it's too easy, okay? You should be coming out the gym sweating if you want maximum gains. The whole thing, oh, I don't sweat when I'm doing weights, is BS. If you're working hard enough, you should be sweating. So train with intensity and you will grow. So moving on to the final segment of this video, nutrition and supplements. Very simple. With regards to your nutrition, you want to be eating in a calorie surplus. That means you're consuming more calories than your body actually needs to function, so that you can put on weight and muscle. Take your maintenance calories and add 200 calories to that. Too many people take their winter bulk too far, and then when it comes to cutting down, they make it very difficult for themselves because they've put on a hell of a lot of body fat. So again, let me reiterate, take your maintenance calories and add 200 calories to this. Now don't just guess your maintenance calories. Use a calorie calculator online and actually work them out, because far too many people eat too little. They think they're eating in a calorie surplus, but they're actually not, and they waste time and don't put any muscle and size on. So make sure you actually go to a calorie calculator, work out your maintenance calories, add on 200 calories, and that will put you in a calorie surplus. Now, of course, there's gonna be a point where your weight plateaus on this bulk. So keep checking in week upon week, scale weight and progress pictures. When your scale weight starts to level off, you're gonna need to take your calories and add an extra 200 to make sure you remain in that surplus. You're going to continue to do this until you're happy with the size and the muscle you've put on. Protein, an absolute fundamental macronutrient when it comes to building muscle. I want you to aim for 2 grams of protein per kg of body weight. For example, if you weigh 80 kilos, you're going to aim for at least 160 grams of protein per day. Now, when it comes to a bulk, those are really the only 2 things you need to be too concerned about: your overall calorie intake and your protein intake. Let's move on to supplements. The only 2 supplements you're gonna need to build muscle: number 1, protein powder. This is just gonna help you hit your daily protein targets. You can get 20 grams of protein per scoop of protein powder. It's easy, it's quick, and especially if you're busy and on the go, It's going to be an absolute lifesaver when it comes to hitting your protein target. And supplement number 2, creatine. Super important. It's going to help with your recovery. It's going to help with the growth of your muscle. It's going to help with your strength within the gym. It is not going to make you lose hair. It is literally the most researched supplement out there. So make sure you are supplementing creatine daily. And that right there, guys, is everything you need to know if you're looking to pack on muscle and size this winter. Now, if you want a condensed version of this in an ebook, then be sure to drop a comment down below and I will fire you across a free copy of the ebook I've created titled The Essentials to Building Muscle. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.